Hi everyone. It goes without saying that it's that time of the year where we can't scroll through our social media timelines without seeing endless amounts of FPL drafts. I've been creating FPL content for over 12 years and have often wondered if you aggregated the countless number of FPL Twitter drafts, what would we end up with? To my knowledge, there isn't a social tool that allows me to do that right now, so I decided to do the next best thing. I reached out to some content creators on an individual basis in order to piece together a content creators 15. What could possibly go wrong? However, before we get into it, there are some important caveats I'd like to mention. So it's FPL rules, the budget is 100 million, and only 3 players are allowed from the same team. Also, just because a content creator has picked a player for this mock-up, it doesn't mean that they'll include that player by default in their own FPL team. The content creators were not able to consult with each other on the picks. It was all done in isolation. This is essentially an FPL social experiment. Each content creator could only pick one player, and as the draft progressed, the remaining content creators were able to see the overall players picked. Obviously, some content creators had more options to choose from, and some had less due to the budgetary restrictions. Lastly, so that FPL rules were maintained, I had to carefully steer the ship, as it were, to ensure that the parameters were met. The results are very interesting, as you'll see. So without further ado, let's get straight into it, starting with the most expensive players picked to the cheapest. Here is the Content Creators 15. Enjoy. We start off with the maximum budget, £100 million. To get us going, we have FPL Salah. He's picked Mr. Inevitable, Erling Haaland. It goes without saying when a player is 86% owned and had 45 goal involvements in the Premier League last season. Abdul Rahman says he is the best captain option in the game, very likely to score the most goals, and plays for the best attacking team in the world right now. He's a generational talent, of course. With that said, Haaland is the first player into the content creator squad. The budget is now at £86 million, and we've got 14 to go. Moving on to our next pick, which was selected by FPL Focal. He's gone for the joint second most expensive player in the game. You guessed it, it's Mohamed Salah. His ownership is a shadow of its former self, and he is essentially a differential premium as it stands. Oscar says that he wanted to force the rest of the content creators to break the template, and let us not forget that Salah is the king of FPL for a reason. We now have 73.5 million cash in the bank. The next player was chosen by Praz_FPL, and he has chosen Marcus Rashford. He started last season, of course, at 6.5 million. Praz says with 5 home matches in the first 8 game weeks, Man United have a reasonably kind start. Last year, they struggled to convert their chances, but in the few that they did, Rashford was involved. I expect him to get even better if Man United sign a striker. It's also a good price point to move around if needed as other bandwagons emerge. The budget now sits at £64.5 million. Up next is Ash from FPL Juice. He selected Saka as his pick, who registered 46 goal involvements over the past 2 seasons. Ash says Saka is undeniably one of the most potent threats in this Arsenal side. He offers not only a consistent threat going forward, but is also on penalties, further increasing his point scoring potential. One of the best things about Saka is that there is very little competition for his place in the starting lineup, so you can rest assured that his minutes will be very high. We now have 56 million in the bank with 11 players still to pick. On to our next content creator, it's Gianni Buttice. He's picked Brazil international Gabriel Jesus. Gianni says he's Arteta's first choice number 9, nailed and gets chances aplenty. Sure, his conversion rate needs improving, but I'm expecting a big season from him. Less than half of the budget now remains, with 10 to go. Moving on to our next pick, which was selected by PlanetFPL Pod, it's Phil Foden. James says, nicely priced, Gundogan sold, KDB doubtful, could play at 10, and he's averaged an attacking return every 102 minutes in the Premier League last season. We now have 40.5 million left in the bank. The next player was chosen by Let's Talk FPL, and it's Arsenal centre-back Gabriel. Andy says Arsenal were the 3rd best defence in terms of XG conceded last season. I expect them to be solid again this season. No other Arsenal defender offers better minutes or attacking threat for 5 million. We now have 35.5 million in the bank with 8 to go. Up next is _FPL Tips, and he has picked Estupinan with the reasons given that ending last season on a high, Pervis Estupinan found 6 of his 8 attacking returns and 9 out of 10 clean sheets after the league resumed in game week 17. His 104 FPL points in that time was only beaten by Alexander Arnold with 116 among defenders, while only Trippier and Trent created more chances. Brighton host newly promoted Luton Town in game week 1, followed by a trip to Wolves, scored the fewest Premier League goals last season. With 7 players to go, we're now entering budget territory. On to our next content creator, it's Az from Blackbox. He's gone for a differential defender. Az says Colwell will either sign for Brighton and be part of the same team that kept 12 clean sheets last season, or surely he'll get assurances from Poch that he is a big part of future plans and cement his place in the team. With Fofana out, his chances of starting look much higher. Either way, he's a bargain at 4.5 million. There's now 26 million in the bank. Moving on to our next pick, which was selected by Nathan Bacon, it's Villa's new signing, Torres. Nathan says, Unai Emery's man, Villa's new defender. Emery's made some solid signings and got a really underrated squad playing well together. One of the best defences in the league since he took over, and one of the best 4.5 million defenders. Great for a start or rotation. The next player was chosen by FPL Phillips. He's gone for Palace goalkeeper Johnston. Eddie says he started the final 9 matches of last season and was top for FPL points per 90 and second for bonus points per game out of all the goalkeepers priced 4.5 million or below that matched his minutes. Palace were also 4th best for XGC last season, and despite the appeal of Flecken, he'd want to be sure that Raya departs before going for him. Up next is the FPL Nacho with our final midfield pick. He's gone for Chukwuemeka of Chelsea. Nacho says the 4.5 million midfielder slot is a graveyard with no standout options. However, with Pochettino's past of playing youth, we could see minutes off the bench for the Chelsea youngster. 12.5 million left. We're almost there now. On to our next content creator. It's all about FPL. Surya has chosen the final forward for the squad. Surprise! Sam Surridge of Nottingham Forest, who is 4.5 million. He's close to joining Nashville in the MLS, meaning that his price will be locked in FPL. There'll be no price drops throughout the season. And you could easily switch to Balogun if he moves to a Premier League club. Other 4.5 forwards on his preseason watch list are Archer, McAtee, Woodrow, Wejo, and Semenyo. 8 million to go. Our penultimate pick is chosen by Ben from FPL Graduates. He has picked our second goalkeeper, and it's Areola. Ben says he's the keeper who's most likely to get minutes out of the 4 million options, provided that he can take the number 1 spot off Fabianski. As the designated bench player for our FPL team, the risk in investing in Areola is relatively low, and expectancy on getting returns is also low. Any returns he does end up getting will be a bonus. On to the final pick. Last but not least, I couldn't do this squad without picking someone. So it goes without saying that I love 4.0 defenders, and no team is complete without one. Baldock got good game time for Sheffield United last season. He's also played out of position in the past. Who does that remind you of? So, just to recap, our goalkeepers in this draft are Johnston and Areola. The defenders are Estupinan, Colwell, Gabriel, Baldock, and Torres. The midfield is Saka, Salah, Chukwuemeka, Rashford, and Foden. And the strikers are Jesus, Haaland, and Surridge. Now, in terms of how that would look as an FPL starting 11, you can see it on screen there, with the subs being Areola, Colwell, Chukwuemeka, and Surridge. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Once again, a special thanks to all of the content creators with their picks in helping me create this Content Creators 15. As always, if you can like, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best.